Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. My guest this episode, his name is Lucas. You can find him on both TikTok and Twitter at Full Count MLB, and he's here now to talk some baseball with us. Hey, Lucas, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Now, people can follow you on Twitter as well as TikTok at Full Count MLB, and it's an all-inclusive site for MLB news, statistics, and analysis. Again, a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
All right, so when did you start up, doing these little videos you do?
I started in probably 2020 over quarantine. I just wanted to find something to do. I love baseball, so Twitter was an option. Baseball Twitter is so much fun to scroll through and talk to other people and learn about baseball.
Cool. Now, we chatted a little bit the other day. You're from Ohio. I mean, are you a Reds or Indians fan or a fan of another team?
I'm a Reds fan.
Yeah,
they're not looking too good, but hopefully they turn it around soon. They got a good farm system, Ellie De La Cruz, and a lot of other prospects that are on the rise.
That's funny. On my previous episode, that guy was also a Reds fan, so I'm plugging a lot of Reds baseball here lately.
Yeah.
So I guess some of the big news of the day. Carlos Correa finally lands the contract. Obviously, the Giants passed on him, the Mets passed on him with the years. Ends up with the Twins for 6 years. But aren't you kind of surprised that if it was why couldn't he get 6 years from those other teams? Why he ended up with the Twins? Any thoughts on that?
I think it's just because they accepted his physical. Other teams were worried about his ankle that apparently he had since 2014. So the Twins already accepted that the ankle was fine with them. So he just signed back with them because he knew they wouldn't give him a problem with their physical. So I think that's what the main issue with that was. So, yeah.
All right. And, he signed with them now. The Twins also, they got Christian Vasquez, the former Red Sox catcher, actually former Astro catcher, as well as Joey Gallo. But, they were they were about almost 10 games under 500 last season. You think that's really, even with Correa, does that do much for them, you think, in the AL Central?
I mean, they obviously play in a weak division in the AL Central, so anything can happen, but I don't know. I think they need some more pitching depth and maybe another offensive star to make them a true contender, in my eyes, at least.
All right, and another big move lately, the Red Sox finally spending some money, lock up Rafael Devers for the next 10 or so years.
Yeah.
Now, you think that was a reaction of this, maybe the fans being upset that Xander Bogaerts got away, and a couple of seasons ago they traded away Mookie Betts, and now you finally have a good young 26-year-old player. Hey, lock this guy up.
Yeah, I think it was because Chaim Bloom was feeling the heat. Those guys were on his butt about Rafael Devers not getting signed, and letting Xander Bogaerts walk in free agency. I think they just needed a franchise player that they could really build a franchise around, because their team is I think they'll be a 500 team this year, but I think they're still building more in the future.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think they're in flux. Obviously Devers is a good player, but Trevor Story's going to be hurt to start the season.
Yeah.
Chris Sale, hopefully he's healthy again for them, even though I have to kind of root against them because of the Red Sox. But this seems to have been in tatters a little bit just the past few seasons. They kind of got, they're not really going in any sort of direction. Obviously, this offseason we've seen a ton of his huge contracts, probably more than ever before, the long-term deals, 10-year deals, 12-year deals. Why do you think a lot of teams are doing this when we see the results where a lot of times at the end of this, usually the last 5 or 6 years of these deals, the player's always hurt and he's getting old and the fans are angry at them. But why do you think teams are still shelling out this big money for, all these players?
I think the big money and the long-term deals are more appealing to players. If you give them a 6-year deal, they may not be as open to it because they want somewhere where they can build their family there, have a home and not move away. So I think the 12 years is a big thing with that. And especially the money, you could spread the money out over a long period of time rather than in 6 years, you may have to pay more, higher AAV, you'd say.
Gotcha. And, one of your recent posts, and again, people can follow you both on Twitter and TikTok and Full Count MLB. about, which great news I would like to hear, that potentially the Yankees have the best rotation in baseball. Now Frankie Montas is going to be hurt, shoulder issue, so he's probably going to miss the first month. But overall, collectively, what do you think about the Yankee rotation?
I think it's by far, in my opinion, the best rotation in baseball. They do have Frankie Montas out for the first month of the season or something like that. Um, I think they should like sign somebody like Zach Greinke just to like fill that role for that time that he's going to be missing. But I think they're a great rotation, and they pass the Astros in my book for the best rotation in baseball.
All right, and again, a lot of you side actually like you do a lot on Twitter as well, a lot of power rankings with teams. So I know it's too early to tell, but just going into next season, 2023, what do you think? Say your top, maybe top three or top five teams are going to be next year in baseball.
I think I got the Mets at 1, I'd say, and then I'm gonna go Astros just because they added first base depth with Jose Abreu, and they added Michael Brantley back, which is huge for their DH/outfield depth. And then I'm gonna go Yankees because they added a ton of pitching depth and they brought back Aaron Judge, which was huge. So that's my top 3. Rest of that's kind of in the mix, I'd say.
All right, and also you had some New Year resolutions for some teams in the AL West, and I kind of thought it was interesting. One of them, you felt that the Angels this season got a shot for the playoffs. But again, they're in a tough division because you got Houston there, and they got an up and coming Seattle organization. But you think the Angels really have a shot for the postseason next year?
I definitely think the Angels have a shot. Their bullpen's a little weak, but I think they could squeak in there in a tough AL East because the AL East is definitely going to have like those 2 wildcard teams that'll take away from the AL West wildcard spots. So I think they might be able to squeak in there, but we'll have to see.
Okay. And I've heard some whispers again this past offseason that Ohtani maybe not happy with the Angels just because, obviously he's a big name player and it seemed like the organization was going to go anywhere. Do you think at some point he bolts from that team, or you think he sticks with them for the long term?
I don't know. I've heard both ways. I've heard them thinking about trading him, but I've also heard him wanting to sign them thinking they're going to sign a long-term contract with him. But I don't know. Next year he's a free agent. That's going to be crazy. He's going to get a crazy bag of money.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get back into some MLB news, but I just want to talk about you and your site. So, what do you enjoy most about your videos you put out? Do you like look at the past? Do you like looking at the present? Like what do you like? What type of content do you enjoy the most putting out there?
I just love like putting out content about rankings and like talking about what different teams are doing right now and what moves are being made and where I think they stack out in the whole scheme of things with the MLB. I also like posting highlights, like past highlights that were, I guess, known in MLB history. So yeah, I'm start posting a lot on there more often.
All right, and you mentioned you're a Reds fan before, but just in general, like what are some of your just favorite baseball moments, just as a fan?
2012 when the Reds clinched the playoffs in 2012, I was in attendance, and that was crazy.
Do you get to go to a lot of Reds games?
Yeah, we have 10 game season ticket package, so we go to 10 games per year. So it's 2 hours away from where I live, so it's kind of a long drive, but I get up there quite a bit during the summer.
All right, and I guess as a Reds fan, I have to ask you about the whole Pete Rose thing. Like, obviously, they're not letting him in, in the Hall of Fame. That's ridiculous. But what's your take on that?
He definitely needs in the Hall for like getting suspended for something stupid like gambling, and when people like Barry Bonds are still considered in the Hall when they're using steroids. So I think he definitely deserves a shot. And if Rob Manfred hears this, put him in.
Yeah, I agree with you because again, if you're doing that as a manager, fine. But like his acolytes or as a player, and that should all what it be. So what he did after as a manager, not good. But I don't think it has anything to do with that. So yeah, I think it's ridiculous. And again, speaking of Hall of Fame, again, even though it was a couple of months ago, one of your posts you put out there about Robinson Cano, the former Yankee, again, put up some good stats. Obviously, has some PED allegations, stuff like that. But you put his numbers out there and make a case of possibly, potentially, he could be a Hall of Famer. What's your feeling on Cano?
I think he could be a Hall of Famer, but the two PED suspensions just really hurt him. He has a lot of home runs, and when you stack out, when you put him next to other Hall of Famers, he's right up there. He's right in the mix. So I think if those PED allegations were not there, he'd be clear cut Hall of Famer, up there with like first bout Hall of Famers.
Yeah, and that was a shame too, because again, when he came up as a Yankee, and was just putting up great stats, and I thought he might be considered maybe the best Yankee second baseman of all time. Again, if he stayed with the team, but then he bolted from Seattle and had their problems. So I agree with you that he has tremendous stats, but yeah, I just think those two PED marks against him is going to hurt him, especially when you have clear-cut players like Bonds, A-Rod, and Clemens who are not getting in. So unfortunately, I don't think Cano will get in as well. In baseball, they're going to now introduce the automatic strike zone for AAA. Do you like that idea, and do you think at some point that comes to the majors?
I have mixed feelings on this. Like, if you have a really good framing catcher, but then you have a really good offensive catcher, with the automated strike zone, you're probably going to take the really good offensive catcher. So this takes away from guys like Jose Trevino, who's excellent pitch framer. With the automated strike zone, you have less of that. So that's where I don't like it. I do like it though with the challenge system. The challenge system is really cool because if you don't agree with a call and it's like a big, substantial play or at bat, and you want to challenge it, and just imagine the excitement, like 3-2 count. It's a little below the zone. They call it a strike. You challenge it. It's a walk, and your team gets a guy on base or gets a run in. It's just crazy. Add more excitement to the game.
That's great. Yeah, actually, I didn't know that you could actually challenge a pitch like that. So yeah, that would be pretty, crazy. I mean, is there like a limited number of challenges? So like football is like you only challenge twice or something like that?
Yeah, you only get 3 per game. That's what they're starting out with in AAA. 3 per game.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like the idea because I just like the spontaneous of an umpire making the call, and just have everyone, like, you have a pitch thrown and everyone just looks up on the scoreboard and see if there's a strike or not. I just think it takes away some of the momentum from the game. Now, going into this season, 2023, they're going to do away with the shift, obviously, so it's going to help a lot of players with their offensive stats. So, do you like the idea they're getting rid of the shift, or were you a fan of it?
I like it and I don't like it. As an analytics guy, it takes away from like the strategy of the game. Like, oh, you got a left-handed Jordan Alvarez. You want to shift one guy you want to shift your third baseman to second base and your second baseman out in the outfield to prevent him from shooting one or pulling one down the line. It just takes away from that. But I think we're going to see averages skyrocket from people who are really shifted upon during the game. So I kind of have mixed feelings on it. So it obviously helps that the MLB offensively, but it hurts the strategy.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's actually better for the game because I think it's going to create more offense. Because with some of these shifts and the way the pitches are just tough these days, you go like 4 or 5 innings, there's like no action. So I think it'll create more action. Like I said before, I think players will have higher batting averages, which then going to be more money. They can make more money with contracts. So I think overall it's probably a good thing for baseball.
Yeah, and you don't have Joey Gallo trying to bunt down the line because he can't hit the ball to the right side.
Exactly, and everyone was referencing him with this whole shift thing because I guess he's like the ultimate pull hitter. Another guy was like that. Remember Chris Davis with the Baltimore Orioles?
Yeah,
pretty much. You could line up like 6 guys on the right side of the field, and he's still gonna just try to hit it to the right side of the field. Another interesting, some news out there, speculation that baseball might expand from 30 to 32 teams. Obviously, Rob Manfred likes it because then you put more ballparks in more cities around America. Obviously, Tony Clark, the commissioner, likes it because there's more jobs for players. But do you think that's just too many teams and it's kind of it would be saturating the league a little bit?
it would definitely too many teams because we've had 30 teams for so long. Why would we want to increase to 32? But I also understand the 32 argument because I think with that 32, they'd rework the divisions, which would make it like teams more close to the teams that are in their division. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it. You also got the cities like Nashville and the Carolinas that really need a baseball team.
Yeah, that was going to actually be my next question. Like, if they do expand, obviously, Vegas will be one of the places, but where else do you think they would, I guess, beyond Nashville or the Carolinas, where would fans, want a team and where they'd actually be successful?
I've heard Sacramento. Sacramento would be good. You have a few California teams, so that might not work. Buffalo, New York. I've heard of that. I've even heard like North Dakota and South Dakota. That's what people were commenting on my Twitter post, that North Dakota and South Dakota, there's not many baseball teams up there.
Yeah, but I think the whole rule is that they have to build a new ballpark first for either Tampa or Oakland before they'll, for some reason. So it's still probably going to be a while.
Yeah.
I think it's a little too saturated because I think there's too many teams. So I don't really want to see it, but most likely just because everyone can make more money at some point, they are going to expand.
Yeah.
So I guess you got some feedback from some fans from like South North Dakota. Just since you've launched this, your videos and podcasts a couple of seasons ago, what kind of feedback have you gotten from like baseball fans?
The feedback has been great. Like just interacting with everyone and talking about baseball. Like, trying to think of a post. I posted about Joey Votto being a first ballot Hall of Famer because he is the best hitter in high leverage situations, and the feedback I got on that was crazy. Like, oh, Joey Votto doesn't deserve to be in the Hall, or doesn't deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer because he never won a World Series, but it's the Reds' fault. So
Yeah, he's gonna be an interesting case. Actually, I met him one time at it was a baseball writers association. It's like I think when he might have won like the National League MVP. It was like 2010, I think.
yeah,
Big guy, nice. He's a nice guy. I don't know. I think he's borderline. I think he's got a shot. I don't know if he'd be a first ballot, but I think at some point, because you got to say he was one of the best hitters for like 10, 15 years, and in the league, but he just had the bad unfortunate of playing for the Reds, unfortunately, which not much postseason action.
yeah, yeah. He's had a rough career. I'm thinking in the next 2 years he'll probably call it quits, but we'll see.
And just you as just a baseball fan, like I mentioned mentioned before some teams, but like what players are you excited to watch or excited to cover?
Oh, I'm super excited for Tatis to come back this year. I know the allegations, people don't like him as much, but when he's on the field, he's electric. I'm also excited for Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman, two rookies that are, or Adley's not a rookie this year, this is his second year, but two young guys that will make a breakout season this year.
Right. And for your site, are you planning maybe anything new for this upcoming season? Doing anything different?
Yeah, I'm trying to maybe do some like game vlogs, like go to the game, talk to players, and I don't know, something like that. I want to try that.
Gotcha. All right, Lucas. No, it was a pleasure having you on. Again, people can follow you at Full Count MLB. That's both on TikTok as well as Twitter. Again, you post some highlights of game highlights. You throw down some statistics, and again, and also you look back at the past as well. So cool site. People should follow you. And again, pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me, man.